Another month, and of course that means another selection of motor swaps in GT7, this time kind of themed, a couple of themes if you will, a bit of 911 action throughout the decades, a bit of S15 Sylvia action as well, with mostly classic cars getting the motor swaps this time around, and curiously it's 9 cars instead of 10. First up though we have the 1972 Alpine with a Sylvia motor swap, again S15 as I said, that one will of course come back a couple of times. Then we've got one which I'm actually pretty curious to try out, the 1970 Citroen DS21, which is the M64 spec Porsche 911 engine swap. So that'll be a hell of a lot of fun, off-road in particular. Then we have of course one which many of you will have already noticed because you've already bought the car in 1.55 anyway, the 87 Civic SI Extra with of course the DC2 Integra engine. Fairly obvious to do, of course most of the Honda branded swaps tend to be fairly obvious and very popular in real life. Next up, one which definitely addresses issues which some, myself included in the past, have had in terms of Evo horsepower. It still doesn't solve the issue of getting more power out of the standard Evo engine, but if you're just looking for big numbers, well, it's definitely the engine to go for. The BRZ engine, the LS7, so a big old V8 in a Mitsubishi Evo 8, around 1,000 horses, in fact over 1,000 in the case of this one. So yeah, again, I'm yet to do that one, but that would be a hell of a machine, you can guarantee that. The next swap is one which I would imagine is quite challenging to get the best out of, the classic 1950s Porsche 356 Speedster version, rather than the coupe, with the Porsche 959 engine. I mean, even if you don't do anything to that engine, a 450 horsepower Porsche turbo engine going into essentially an upside down bathtub from the 1950s, James Dean, much. Next up we have a curious choice, and this one actually gives me an idea for a potential future special project, so watch this space. It's the 992 shape, so the 2022 GT3 RS with the 911 Turbo S engine swap, so a fairly recent vehicle of course, a fantastic car in its own right. For some people you might not bother doing that because of course they are two distinctly different machines, but I do have some potential plans for that one, so like I said, watch this space. Next up we have the S15 back-to-back in two different Renault models. First up the 1980 legendary Renault 5 Turbo. I must admit I don't use the Renault 5 Turbo as often as I would have expected in this game, but regardless of that, you've got the S15 swap, and then as I said, keeping it within Renault, you've also got the 1966 Renault Gordini with that same S15 Sylvia engine as well. So much like the Citroen DS, a rally legend and just a classic icon in general with a heck of a lot more power than it originally had. And last but certainly not least, a perfect foil for the 1000 horsepower V8 Evo, a 911 Turbo S powered 2004 Subaru WRX. I love the idea of keeping it in with the flat engine family, but up to around 1000 horses, fantastic soundtrack, superb performance doubtless, and I would imagine you could probably make a pretty nice time attack style build out of that one. I actually quite like the mix. I'm always the kind of person hoping for more like V10 Lexus LFA kind of swaps into stuff because of the Renault Espace F1 guy in me, but aside from that, some V8, some flat, some S15, bit of JDM sprinkled over here and over there. I prefer ones like this where you've got some modern cars, some classic cars from a variety of different manufacturers, because even within 9 or 10 vehicles you can have a lot of variation. And of course stick around in the coming days on the channel wherein we'll be talking about the new cars of 1.55. And if you perhaps missed the videos yesterday, I did of course give my overarching review of 1.55 as a whole, and also talked about some pretty massive news in the world of racing games, and that is Forza coming to the PS5. So if you missed that, definitely check out that video. I'll see you in future for more, and thanks for watching.